Hello, welcome to Sean Builds Lisp. My name is Sean and I am building a Lisp. So, last time we rewrote our parser to use a read table, and I think that went pretty well. What I'd like to do today is take a couple hours and see if we can't sprint towards an actual hello world compile and evaluate. But before we do that, I think I'd like to simplify my read table a little bit. And so basically, if I can find where I put this, I think it was in read.js. So let's go find that guy. So I brought read.js up over on the right-hand side here. And so we've got this syntax function that returns an object of type syntax. And so my original plan was going to be to keep the syntax, the original syntax that we parse out of the read function, very simple, and translate that into AST that we would use to generate the code, basically in the parser. But after consideration, I think we might be able to get away with keeping this a little simpler and just parse AST directly. And so the AST I'm going to use is the Babel AST, and the main reason for that is the ecosystem. There's a lot of tools that are built for Babel, and it would be great to be able to leverage those in our Lisp. So I'm gonna go to the Babel documentation and see if I can't figure out how to spit that up. All right, so I've looked through this a little bit. I can zoom a little bit. All right, so I kind of sort of know where I'm going. Babel has a project that helps you generating Babel AST tools. Generator. I am going to bet that it's helpers. Let's see here. Nope. All right, let's see here. Core. Transform. All right, so this looks like it is well, not surprisingly, the core Babel infrastructure. Runtime. So basically, I know that Babel has a bunch of functions that just generate AST, and so I'm trying to look for that. I think this is it. Yep, I think this is what we want. Okay, great. Let's scroll to the top here. Great. All right, so we'll jump back to our project and we will install that. I'm actually not going to make it dev because I've got this weird setup that we can talk about again some other time. Okay, I'm just going to take a peek in that node modules and see if, whoa. Oh, that's my node modules. All right, so what was this? It's at Babel types. I was just checking to see if they have a TypeScript definition file in here. They do not. I wonder if VS Code will read that flow. Anyway, let's see here. So basically, in the syntax function, I am going to basically switch type of value. So far, we're only parsing strings, so I'm going to look at that and return, let's say, const. We're just going to require that Babel project. Let's see if we get some autocomplete on this. Great. All right, so we want string literal. Great. All right, and that will just be value. And of course, what we want to do is check for an array. And of course, we have to do this with a switch statement because an array type of array is going to be object. is array value. We will want to turn, let's see, t.array. All right, so let's see here. We're gonna do, all right, this is gonna be a little funky because I believe array expression is used for ES5 and array pattern is used for ES6 and up. So what shall we do? And let's just see what happens there. All right. Cool. Actually, does this have more? Oops. It looks like, oh my. I wonder where that is. Oh, they do have a type definition. That's great. Okay. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing right now. So let's just run it and see what we're going to get. A ton of errors. Let's just see what happens. Oh, interesting. All right, so what did we get? Oh boy, I think we're gonna spend all 2 hours on this refactor. No clue what we're doing here. All right, so let's look at read list. Okay, so we read, we should get syntax out of that. Oh, you know what? We're reading symbols. We need to jump over to read symbol. I'm also definitely going to want to refactor this, but actually our syntax, we're gonna, that's what we're doing here. We are getting undefined because we didn't check for symbol. All right. You know what? There is no AST for symbol, so we are going to make up our own. And for now, I'm just going to call this symbol literal, because I believe that's what we, string literal. Let's just peek in the type definitions here. Basically just, yeah. So a string literal node will be an object with type string literal. So I'm going to mimic that. Whoops. Oh my. Sorry about that. Work machine is a Mac and command minus goes back. So that was some muscle memory. But command minus on Windows will not do that. All right, type symbol literal, and then our value will be, well, just our value. That's it. That's all we need. Okay. Let's just run these tests again and see if we can get like some weird array stuff. Oh, you know what? It's going to validate. It's going to validate that. All right. I'm going to take a major shortcut that's not going to work. Oh, this is going to be... I'm just going to make an identifier. All right, so basically what that's telling me is we're gonna have to go poke around in the Babel internals, and it's not gonna work out that great. Oh, that's interesting. So I expected some errors. So let's look at some space here. Gonna go look at read symbol.spec, and so what we can see that what we're doing, oh, we're calling read symbol directly, so we get the symbol out, and in our read.spec, And that's probably where we are calling syntax, so we're pretty much guaranteeing that our syntax is going to be what this function is returning, and so that's just testing read. Okay, so this is more or less what we're looking for. Cool. So, what's next? Basically, I'm just gonna put a stupid little test in here, just to play around with this. So expect, let's see, read, and let's just read, oops. All right, so I'm just gonna read a list with a single string literal inside of it. Actually, I'm just gonna assign it to variable. Close my parentheses. All right, okay. I'm just gonna put a breakpoint here, and basically all I want to do here is just inspect what's coming out and validate that it looks like what I think it will. Okay, so step over. Oh my, that looks bad. Oh, I think I'm gonna make this mistake a lot. So basically, let's just explain what happened there. All right, if we jump back to read.spec. All right, so I gave read a string, and read takes an input stream. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this life a little easier on myself. Oh my, it is indexing a bunch of files that are deleted. Okay, and that's the one. All right, read stream. All right, if type of stream is a string, return read a new input stream string. So basically, if it's a string, we'll just spit out an input. We'll just build an input stream on the fly there. I don't think this will bite us, but you never know. And this is input stream. All right, let's run that again. Okay, foo. What do we have here? Type, array pattern, elements, and we have our identifier. All right, so cool. For the purposes of this, I'm gonna be okay with this. We'll have to go figure out how to add a new node to Babel. But the good news is Babel is doing a lot of checks for us that otherwise we would have to do ourselves. All right, so what we're gonna do now is go, let's just delete, if we delete that, VS Code will stop indexing it. All right, cool. So we've got our reader. So what we'll need is, whoops, not a file. We want to add a new directory, expander. Cool, and all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna jump into that directory and whoops, terminal, what's going on here? Whoops. All right. So where are we? src, node modules, blisp, expander, and just run that npm init. And okay, I don't care what you're doing. Alrighty, so we are going to have expand, macro expand, 1. And let's see, I'm not sure what I wanted. I'm not sure if I want macro expand yet, but all right, module.exports, we'll have a function called expand. And what shall we call this? We'll just call this, let's just call it syntax. All right, so expand's job is basically to take our list structure and expand it into fully qualified Babel AST. And so what do we want this to look like? Let's do switch syntax.type. And what do we want? All right, so we were just looking at this. Jump into syntax array pattern. I'm going to jump here and I'm so used to a trackpad, I don't know what to do with a mouse. Array pattern. So this guy is indeed array pattern. Cool. All right, so array pattern. I'm going to, let's import. All right, so I am going to import some functions here. All right, call expression. All right, so if we have an array pattern, basically our expand will basically turn it into a call expression. And so call expression. All right, so the callee we will call expand on syntax.elements0 and whoops, that's inside the wrong thing. And arguments we will take syntax.elements. Wow, I do not want. Why is this so slow? All right, I'm gonna have to look at that before my next stream. Anyway, we're going to slice the rest of the syntax elements into there. Elements dot length -1. All right, let's see, optional. All right, well, we'll just pass on that. Cool. Let's see, default we will return the syntax and just kind of eventually we'll do some error checking on that, but yeah, today is all about just watching hello world run. So cool. Let's jump over to our tests and make a new test directory for that guy. All right, expander. That is not how you spell that. All right, and we'll hit expand.spec.js. Cool. As usual, we will describe module blisp/expander/expand, and that will give us our expand function. All right, so let's I'm just going to put a placeholder in because I'm not sure what I want here. Foo. All right, and it does something. All right, so what do we want to do? Let's actually post array pattern and string literal. Grab that from Babel types. All right, let's just all right, we will expand t.array, whoops, array pattern, and so take an array. And I wonder if we should just use our syntax function. T. I stopped doing that. I destructured the require there. All right, I'm just going to grab identifier. Let's just have fun and watch something run, and then we'll have a better idea of what we want to do here. So we'll make no, actually, what am I doing? I want to expand string literal. Break, and we'll just say, oh, that's interesting. All right, so this is a little strange. All right, we lost some stuff here. Oh, we need to import that. Autocomplete? No, no autocomplete. All right. Try. All right, so sorry, forgot what I was trying to do here. All right, so basically, all right, I'm gonna check for an identifier. All right, so basically, let's just do this. All right, here's our input. We want to do, this is what we want to do. Console.log, actually, nope, that's not what we want to do. That will be much further down the line. So what we want is some member access for console log, and then we want to call that with our string literal foo. Okay. Nope. So many things wrong with this. All right, so this is what we're trying to compile. If that's a little small, let me zoom in. All right, so essentially we want to, this is going to essentially be a macro that expands into the member access AST, and then cool. So how do we want to do this? I'm probably just gonna do a bunch of crap. I'm gonna put this over here. So all right, so first thing we want to do is say, all right, here's what we're gonna do. All right, so I'm putting brackets around this because I'm going to add some lexical or some block scoped elements. So const is scoped to a block, so it needs a block. Otherwise, we're going to confuse the crap out of ourselves. All right, so first equals, actually, just take this whole thing. Will be first. Okay, cool. So basically, if is identifier. Alright, so if first is an identifier, we're also going to need some kind of environment, so I'm going to pass that in. We'll define that in a moment. All right, so if I is first, okay, cool. And then I'm just going to put some placeholders here. We're going to have to go write a resolve function. So basically what I'm doing right now is essentially if we find an array, we want to get the first element of it. If it's an identifier, we're going to check to see if it's a macro, in which case we're going to call our macro expand function on it and continue from there. So what do we need here? So resolve, we're going to put a file /resolve. All right, so I'm just going to call this resolved. Naming things is difficult. All right, so resolved equals resolve first. Alrighty, so if resolved, basically this means we have a macro. So, all right, I'm gonna cheat because I'm not sure what I want here. All right, so we could, so basically we continue to expand each macro that we find. But I'm just gonna expand it once because that's all I think we need our hello world function to do. Actually, I'm not sure I need that. What if we just do this in place for now? All right, so presumably resolved, if resolved exists, it's a macro function, so we can return resolved by calling it with this guy. Right, so let's just do this then. All right, so rest. Cool. And if we're not resolved, then basically we are compiling a function call. So we will take rest and map that, and we'll just call it s for now. And so basically we will call expand s with env. All right, and this expand will also need an env. Is resolved. Spread that in. All right, so in theory, if we have an environment with a macro, this would expand it. So over here, I'm just gonna make a dummy env. So let's just see this guy and, oh, we need to resolve. And where are we here? We want to put this over here. All right, resolve.js. All right. Function resolve, and so this will take an identify. Actually, I'm going to call this symbol because eventually we'll want these to be symbols, and an environment. And so dumbest thing right now is that we're just going to return env symbol. All right. So without any concern for what we actually want this to look like in the final language, I'm just going to make a quick little by hand macro here. All right, so member access is just going to be member access. That's actually all we have to do. All right, let's look at the call signature on this guy. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that autocomplete was a big lie. Member expression. This looks more like it. Nope, maybe not. What's this? I think this is what I want. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna jump over, and so this is what I often do when I'm doing anything with code gen. Oh, hi, glass of ethanol. Sorry, I missed your comment there. Why compile to JS is the question coming in on the chat. Even though you're gone, I am. This is so distracting. I'm going to close that. So why compile to JS? Great question. And even though you're gone, I'm still going to answer your question because it is super valid. Everybody hates JS. The cool thing about JS, though, is that you can deploy it anywhere, and there's a very large ecosystem around it. So why not Clojure and ClojureScript? Well, I love Clojure, but the thing is that it takes a lot to actually integrate it with JavaScript, and really what I'm looking for here is totally seamless integration with the JavaScript ecosystem, like zero cost bridging. Like you call a function in blisp, I want it to, it doesn't matter if it is a blisp function or a JavaScript function. In fact, blisp functions will compile to JavaScript functions, and so you will be calling JavaScript. So blisp at runtime will completely disappear unless we get clever and you decide that you actually want it at runtime. And that's really it. Cool. So I'm going to jump over to AST Explorer. So I often use this when I'm doing some code gen. You can see that I was experimenting a little here with what kind of, so basically, sorry, I'll back up. This is just to see what's the AST that I want. What am I looking for? So what am I looking for? Member expression like that, foo.bar. Cool. Member expression. So object will be identifier. Property is also, so it looks like we're trying to fill in so object and property. Suppose I should back up a bit here. So this website basically just allows you to type in some JavaScript, and then on the right-hand side, it expands the AST objects for that JavaScript. And so often I'm going to jump back to Visual Studio Code, and if you remember, I was trying to figure out, do I want member expression? What am I looking for here? And so it seemed like this is what I wanted, but I wasn't sure. So I came over to AST Explorer, typed out the JavaScript I want, and then I can see, yes, member expression is what I want, and this is how I use it. Cool. So instead of member access, we'll just call this member expression. And the cool thing about this is we didn't even write a macro. We just sent it into our env. So shall we see if we can do this? All right, so basically we're going to comment that out. It's a bit distraction. All right, so we have a number of bugs that I remember thinking about. We need to resolve inside our env. And our env is going to get a lot more complicated than this, but just kind of let's get a feel. All right, so I'm going to just start with the inner expression there. So our array pattern, we want identifier. And this will be member access, member expression. And so we are calling this with two identifiers. I'm just gonna copy this and change the inner calls. All right, so property is log, and the object is console. And so we are expanding that inside of our env. Great. So I think we can actually just run this. All right, so to equal, And what should we get out of this? We should get member expression called with actually just these two arguments. Whoops. All right. There we go. All right. Let's whoops, I'm in the wrong spot. Whoa. Yeah, I'm gonna run npm test and let's just see what happens here. Syntax. I think we have a typo. There it is. Whoop. Let's see what we broke. All right. All right, what do we get? Arguments, collie. All right. Looks like, oh, we're checking for the identifier, so dot name, I think. All right, so we just have to reach in the identifier there. That's why I want to eventually just make that a symbol. Properties console. Yeah, so just we're slicing from the wrong guy. Interesting. All right, well, let's just debug it. All right, let's see what we have here. Rest. Oh. All right, well, we definitely have 3 of those. Oh, you know what? What a doofus. All right. My brain was on autopilot there. Just was not slicing correctly. All right. That was fun. Member expression. All right. Let's just, I'm just gonna kind of take this guy, describe that. Let's do a member access node, whatevs. All right. So basically, let's do that essentially again. I need to clean up my quotes. And I'm just gonna oops. All right, so basically we're going to pretty much do the same thing. except we'll have a nested list, or, well, in this case, array. All right. Let's get used to a scroll rail. All right, so what do we have? We'll have an outer array pattern. And all right, so the first element is the array pattern, and then the second element will be string literal. So basically, I am essentially by hand parsing out my my S expressions here. So essentially, what I expect the reader function to return from this string is exactly this AST. And then let's call expand. I fully do not expect this to work at all. Oh, that's interesting. A string literal can't be in an array. All right, well, let's go take a look at that. I'm a little surprised. Yeah, great, thanks for that. Pattern like, what is pattern like? Identifier, rest element, array pattern, object pattern. All right. All right. I'm a little confused, so we're going to go back to AST Explorer. And let's just see what the AST for this is. Array expression elements literal. That's interesting. So array expression spread element. Huh. I wonder what array pattern is. Oh, let's try the docs. Oh, it's a good place to start. Array pattern. Let's see here. Oh, great. That is not super descriptive. Array pattern versus array expression. So basically right now I'm trying to see, just trying to guess if there's any way I can get this to spit out an array pattern node. Yep, really not sure. Well, at any rate, it looks like array expression will work for us, so let's go change that. Close that. All right, so we go back to expand, and we're gonna have to change a bunch of stuff from this, but oops, I wanted this back. All right, so let's grab array expression instead and change that here. See what happens. All right, cool. All right, let's see. All right, so we only failed our new test, so that's cool. So we have Kali. So .log. Oh, wait a second here. Oh. I didn't change my expected. All right, so call expression, and the callee will be our member expression, and our arguments will be a string literal foo. Okay, I have a syntax error someplace. Let's see. I'm just missing one more parenthesis. All right. We didn't import call expression, so let's do that. All right, cool. So our code actually did what we thought it should do, but we were testing the wrong thing. Okay, so basically, we've got some stuff where we can start doing our hello world. And so, not sure where I want to put this. At any rate, let's jump over back to Babel. I'm going to open up this in a new tab just so that we don't completely lose our docs over there. All right, so we want to look at the generator. Pretty sure this is the guy that actually spits out JavaScript. Generate from generator, and that's it. Generate AST. Great. All right. All right, I'm just going to put this in a top level file in my tests. This isn't going to stick around, but let's just see what we can do. Const read equals nope, not Babel. We want this is it. blisp/reader. All right, and then we will want expand blisp/expander/ I don't have barrel files. We need to dive in here. We will eventually want barrel files. All right, so we have read and we have expand. So we need to set up our reader. So we're going to jump over to read.spec. Oops, what's this? Oh, you know what? This is interesting. So our read table is totally broken. You wonder. All right, I'm just gonna put some dummy stuff in here just so that Mocha will spit out some stuff at me. All right, so just gonna try and read this. Sorry, I want to go copy this env. Where are we here? Yank that. Let's just get our env ready. And we need to import this guy. I wonder if we'll get autocomplete on this. Whoa, that is not what I was expecting to happen. Did I press the wrong thing? Okay, just not sure what's going on. All right, we'll just do it by hand. Member expression from Babel. Cool. So we've got our env, and I'm just gonna start by reading. Oops. again. Let's all right, so we'll do member expression and console log. Actually, you know what? In tradition, let's do hello world. And let's expand our form and our env, and no, we jumped over here so that we would install the Babel generator, and then we didn't do it. All right, install that guy. Really need to stop bumping the microphone, huh? All right, so we installed that guy. So what are we gonna do? Oh, okay, so we just import it. All right. Require at Babel/generator. JS equals generate. Expanded. All right, should we just go ahead and try this? See what happens. All right, so I'm gonna just run this interactively. I can already think of a bug that may or may not make this break. All right, let's step over and see what we get. This looks bad. Read is not a function. Oh, you know what? I am a big fat doofus. These are actually the exported things. These I originally was thinking I was requiring from a barrel file. Yeah, let's give it another shot. Step over. Let's see. Anything happens? All right, so this is kind of what I was thinking would happen. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm looking in my console. So in our read.spec, we modify the read table to set up our list reader. And so this file ended up running before that file. Hence, we are broken because our reader doesn't know about lists. Totally expected. And so I think we basically just infinite looped here, or not sure how we broke there, but so what we need to do here is set up our read table. So I'm gonna just go to read.spec and copy that for now. Nope, not read.spec. Maybe it's read list.spec. Okay, now I'm surprised because we definitely ran read list. All right. Here. Actually, you know what? That was just a legit error. Someday we'll actually have errors, and the compiler we're writing will have told me that was just wrong. All right, let's try running again. Turns out it was my code that was wrong, not my code. Well, they're both wrong, but All right, so we have a form, which is an array. So we have that, great. Now expanded is not at all what we thought it would be. Let's see what we got here. It looks like expanded nothing. Oh, you know what? What do we have here? Wait, how did we get? Oh, we never updated our read function. This should be array expression. All right. I'm just gonna quickly find and replace that. All right. Try it again. Okay. Let's see here. Great. Array expression. Nope. All right. Did we get anything? Nothing. Let's see here. Where are we looking here? Expand.js. All right, so if we get array expression, we will expand the first one, which all right, so if we get an identifier, otherwise return call expression. All right, well, let's just run it again, see what's happening. All right, where's our call stack? Oh, this is the first test. All right, here's the test we're interested in. All right, great. We did it. We successfully recursed into expand here. And we have our rest. All right, we resolve our macro and we return that. Great, so first is a member expression. So here we are, rest. All right, so first is member expression. So we should skip that and create a call expression. Yeah, let's just see, return value, callee arguments, and we step out. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Here we go. This is what we're actually doing. All right. Resolved. Then we jump out. Great. Okay. So return value. Okay. Cool. Step over. Here we are. Expanded. Huh. My just misremembering. It seemed like that wasn't working. Oh well. Let's just see. Generate is not a function. All right. Yeah, so I'm just going to rerun it again and actually inspect what generate is. I think we've decided we don't need that breakpoint anymore. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oops. Import generate. All right, so basically this, so Babel's compiled to ES5, or compiled to CommonJS with like this ES5 stuff, so that's interesting. Kind of curious what Babel types looks like. All right, anyway. So basically we want this to be .default. And we'll rerun. All right, well, let's hope that it's okay with only taking one argument. Interesting. Oh, okay, so we have to evaluate js.code. All right, I'm super confident. Let's just node. All right, we'll just do npm test then and go hunting in the output. There it is. Hello world. Look at that. Just over an hour. And a lot of messy code in between. All right, so basically, what this means is that from here, we kind of have a plausible strategy to actually compile things, which is great. What we'll need to do is essentially build in some scaffolding around this stuff. So we'll have to get our read tables in order. And essentially, I don't know, it'd be nice if we could just take Babel types literally as our core env. I'm just going to kind of take a look at this. I think it's going to be fairly correct. I'm really kind of baffled about this array expression versus array pattern. All right, anyway. So let's see. The thing we want to be able to do is add our own node. Just gonna poke around here and see if there's anything that might hint at what we could do. So I mean, with all the plugins, you have to be able to add new node types to Babel. Unless this whole plan won't work at all. Let's see here. We might not be able to just make this an array expression. All right, what I'm gonna do, so let's jump over to syntax. All right, so I'm just gonna make this symbol literal again. And so basically what I'm trying to do here is basically to add my own little node to the Babel AST. So just gonna run this and take a look at the error message again. Where does that happen? Let's just run it. Uncaught exceptions. So we'll just break on the exception. Do some digging. Or not. Oh. All right. Mocha's catching my exception. So we need to jump over here and give it allow uncaught. Run that again. Okay. That's interesting. Type error. Oh wow, that's a real thing, huh? Okay. I've never. All right. If node type. All right. Let's look at our call stack. All right. So we've got builder.default array expression dot args. Validate.default. All right, let's see. Where is this file? Types, builders. All right. All right, I'm gonna jump over to GitHub and just see what's going on. All right, so packages, Babel. Maybe my original plan was better. All right, let's back out and see if the README has anything. Nope. Oh, so I think I just realized what array pattern is. Let me just try this. Yep, there it is. All right. Array pattern is for L value of an assignment or a variable declaration. Okay. Define type. Interesting. Where does that come from? Let's see. All right, let's see if utils just. All right. Well, it looks like we can probably do this. Where was that? That was from /utils. And let's come back. All right, totally forgot what our original error message was. Null expression, spread element. All right, let's see what they do. All right, so we define types and that's it. Fine. All right, I'm gonna try something really, really dumb. I'm gonna jump back here and see. All right, so utils. Whoa, okay, jumping around. All right, so utils module.exports looks like it, or the default is define type. So actually, you know what? I'm just gonna pretty much. Actually, this is probably in core. I'm in ES 2015. All right. Just find. Whoa. Find type. Identifier. I'm just going to copy this. And let's see. Temp. Whoa. We have been doing some digging. Totally lost our file. All right. So const define type equals, we're just gonna dig right into there. Babel slash generator slash lib slash. All right, where was it? Uh-oh. Maybe we can't grab that define type. Uh-oh. We might be foiled on this little scheme of totally reusing the Babel AST. Ah, hello. C leader 28. Yep, totally private. I was doing bad stuff, but I'm gonna see what I might be able to do anyway. All right, so it's definitely there. All right, so where are we? Lib. Oh, it's not in the. I'm just not getting autocomplete because it's not in the type definition, I think. All right. Oh. Cool. Well, hello and welcome to Sean Builds a Lisp. I am building a Lisp, and my name is Sean. Yeah, that was just a coincidence because I am digging into private APIs of Babel that aren't exposed. Utils and the default. Right. So I think we can have define type. Oh, hi. So basically what I'm doing is I am essentially building a parser that compiles to Babel's AST for basically takes S expressions to directly represent Babel AST, and essentially I'm going to then use that to build a Lisp that has zero cost foreign function interface with JavaScript. And so right now I am just hacking together a proof of concept, just seeing if I can parse and compile hello world. All right, so I think that here the fields describe how to do stuff, and so basically chain function, not sure what chain does. I don't think we need it. Just do, okay, looks like we'll also need assert value type. I'm guessing that's also in utils. I'm in California, and I'm sorry to hear that you're upset and alone. It's never fun. No worries. It's really not that bad. All right, so basically, all right, this is somewhat inelegant without import. All right, so basically, let's just do this. Utils define type equals utils dot default, and so value type equals utils dot assert value type. We could have done that another way, but I don't care. All right. All right. So I think plan is to just see how this goes. optional. I think I'm just going to delete all this other stuff. Actually, maybe that'll work. So if we just do that, we define type. Oh, can I give advice to beginning developer? Sure, I can try. So just not to give up. Yeah. Actually, that is pretty much all of development, is just not giving up. For me, it's really about puzzle solving. Even bugs. I get excited about bugs just because it's another puzzle that I can solve. And then kind of in the macro, I get to build up some bigger things and see them work and run. As you're first getting in, I think the most important thing is to write code that you are excited to see run. So for me, that was the iPhone came out, and I got really excited about writing iPhone games. And so I just started writing iPhone games, and I had to naturally learn how to program to do that. I have been programming for probably about 10 years, seriously. Kind of always been into computers and technology and very, very light random stuff that I'd done before that. But yep. But really, I think best advice I can give is to find a project that you're excited about, so that that excitement will help you get through the hard times, because programming is very, very frustrating. Oh, sweet. Swift in iOS development is really awesome. Apple's SDKs for iOS and their documentation is definitely top notch, and that's a great place to get started. So I would just build an app and watch it run, and if that gets you excited, then keep digging deeper. Cool. So let's see. So we think we might have. Oh, you know what? We need to call this symbol literal. Yeah, I think Swift programming language is pretty great. I'm gonna see if I can get it right without having a visitor. All right, let's just see if that did anything. Babel types. No wonder autocomplete wasn't working. Wrong module. Holy moly. That looks like it almost worked. Oh, you know what? Oh, so another question on the chat. Do you think it's necessary to know some low-level language like C or even ASM? Definitely not. You do not. I would not even really, don't even worry too much about the code. With iOS development, you can actually get really far with interface builder and just connecting some pieces and some very light code, and then you can already see your app run, and then dig deeper when you need to do more complicated stuff with your app. But yeah, I would start simple and see it run. Like, no need to get bogged down right away. See some results and then get bogged down is kind of where I'm going. And in fact, that's what I'm doing with this project is right now I'm just hacking together some stuff that will allow me to see some results and get excited to keep digging. I would definitely look into Interface Builder. It is one of the most awesome things in modern development. Okay, so basically, what we've managed to do here is by calling a define type, we've told Babel about our new AST node. And so we were able to create our array expression with the symbol literal, but we didn't compile it down to anything. So in our expander, when we encounter a symbol literal, what we'll do is compile it down to an identifier. Identifier, I will have to import that. Oops. All right, and basically all we'll do is okay. Oh my gosh, I think this might actually work. Yeah. All right, so here we go. Now this is where we come back to our macros. So basically, definition of a macro here is that it receives its arguments not compiled. So it's responsible for compiling its macros. So basically, we need to make this member expression a function, and so we'll just do the same similar thing. And return member expression. Expand object and expand property. Sorry, just going to read from the chat here. I don't feel I'm doing some brain work dealing with Interface Builder. It's much more interesting for me to keep all project without Interface Builder, but of course it's more time-consuming process. That's fair. One cool thing about Interface Builder, though, is auto layout. It's actually a logical programming system. It just is not in code, but it's really robust. And if you wrap your head around that, I guarantee you that will be brain work. But again, like I said, the main thing with getting into programming is making sure that you're engaged. So if you're having more fun writing code, then definitely keep doing that. As far as and then asks what games did I make. So I never actually published them. As this is another thing that if you get into programming, you'll learn is that 80% of the work takes about 20% of the time, and 20% of the work takes 80% of the time. And so basically I got a couple of games to 80% proof of concept, but then just wasn't motivated to finish them. And this comes back to my same old advice is you need to stay motivated. And even with this project, I'm not really sure that I'll stay motivated. I think I will. I've been interested in this project for a long time, but it all comes down to motivation. All right, so basically with this macro, we're just gonna defer to we're going to defer to the Babel builder, but we are going to be responsible for expanding the parameters ourselves. So that's what we'll do. So basically we'll expand, in this case, this will be we're expanding the symbols into identifiers. Oh, you know what? This needs to be symbol dot key for another question, am I working for a company or myself? I am working for a company, but this particular project is for myself. Okay, no idea about that. So let's oh, I think this. All right. Oh, no worries. Ask as many questions as you want. The whole reason I am streaming this rather than just recording is to interact with the community. So happy to chat. Happy to chat. Okay, so I think that we have a problem. So essentially, it's not a symbol. Somehow we lost our symbol. All right, so I think this is in syntax.js. All right, we're gonna have to, let's just see if we can hack this together. Name is value. All right, let's see. Oh my goodness. That worked. We actually did it. What kind of games do I prefer? So the games I developed were kind of along the lines of like Angry Birds or that kind of thing. Right now I'm really into Zelda. I've over the past year slowly been making my way through all the Zelda games. I like single player like campaign games mainly these days. I used to get really into like Halo and multiplayer, but just don't have time to remain competitive enough for it to be fun. So I like the big single player games these days. Since I don't get much time to play, I can just pick them up when I have time. Cool. So, what do we have here? So we have pretty much have a rough version of what I wanted to get to today. I only have about 20 minutes left, so I'm wondering if there's anything I can do, kind of get accomplished in 20 minutes or get started. So we managed to introduce Babel, add our own symbol node to Babel, and expand a macro. In a very hacky way, and finally evaluate the JavaScript that we compiled. So we actually just managed to eke our way through an end-to-end compile cycle, which is pretty exciting, although it might not be super obvious that that's what we did. All right, so here's one thing that we can fix. Now that we... oh, this is interesting. How did this actually work? I'm going to jump into here. I'm just going to run this again because we just changed this to be a symbol. All right, let's see. All right, array expression. All right, so basically what I'm seeing here is that I would kind of expect this to be of type symbol literal. So I'm going to jump to the very outside of this function and rerun. Oh, you know what? This is probably... Where are we? Oh, we're in an expand. We are providing identifiers. All right, well, that's fine. Expand. So basically, we're looking for temp.spec here. Eventually. Oh, there we are. Okay. So what do you have? Syntax is symbol. Oh, where are we? Another question, is it recommended for a new iOS developer to know Objective-C, or is it fine only with Swift? I think you'll have to understand a little bit about Objective-C because most of Apple's SDKs, I believe, are still Objective-C, and they definitely have all their documentation examples in Swift, but I think probably once you dig deep enough, there will be some Objective-C semantic that you'll at least have to understand, but you'll probably be able to get pretty darn far without learning Objective-C proper. And then maybe eventually you'll pop into something that seems weird and you'll have to do some Googling and you'll find out that it's some weird Objective-C thing that you have to interoperate with. But I think based on documentation, their documentation will have Swift examples, and I think you'll be able to get pretty far without it. All right, so here we are, our symbol literal member expression. All right, so, all right, I think here we are. This is a judgment call. Kind of feel like we should be looking up. We shouldn't be expanding to identifiers here. And I think this is where we have expand versus macro expand. So basically, the reason we're grabbing the first element here is because we want to see if it's a macro. Okay, so basically, you might want to be doing the resolving here. Actually, just watched a really interesting talk about this. Can't remember his name, but in the programming languages subreddit, somebody posted a talk where somebody walked through a very simple implementation of Racket's macro expander. I think what I'm going to do is call this good for today and do a little more research around this. Try to decide just exactly how I want this to work and how it should work, and come into this a little more planned. So a few things that we need to clean up now is to abstract our read tables a bit. Right now, we're just literally updating them in place, which is going to cause problems, and it already has. So we'll want to build a framework around extending the read tables. And then we will want to develop a mechanism to load macros into our environment and decide what our environment actually should look like. And then finally, we'll want to carefully look through order of operations as we are expanding this into Babel AST. And really, once this expand function is called, that's the only thing that kind of makes sense right now, is that once it's called, you have a valid Babel AST and you can just code generate it. Cool. So I think once we do all that, then either along the way or we'll have to go back and make sure that we can also generate source maps with this whole scheme. But this was really exciting to get at least something end to end. Cool. So I can see it looks like, all right, so I'm just gonna, yeah, I think I'm gonna call that a day. Well, thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure as always.